The NASCAR Cup Series makes its way to the Atlanta Motor Speedway for the second race of the 2024 NASCAR season. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down my picks for who I think is going to win, but also some of my bets that I'm going to be doing that I think can win a good amount of money. So when we come to Atlanta, we have to consider drivers who are very good and proficient at super speedway racing, as Atlanta is now a drafting track. Now, as exciting as it is to want to pick an underdog driver to win, the trend has shown that this racetrack favors drivers who are typically favorites on all types of racetracks. Every race run since the repave has been won by a driver who isn't an underdog. My first pick is a very logical pick, and that is somebody who has won at this track twice before, and that is the 24 of William Byron. I could see William Byron starting off the year winning back-to-back races. Last week at Daytona he won, and then this week at Atlanta, basically a similar style of racing as Daytona. It's almost a smaller version of Daytona, same width and banking size. I expect him and the Hendrick crew to work well together and control the race, similar to what the Fords did last year. I expect the Chevys to kind of look at that and then this year kind of apply it to their game plan for this race. William Byron having the 2 wins already at this racetrack and having that win last week makes him red hot. He is the first driver that I think will win this week's race at Atlanta. The second driver that I would consider having a great chance to win here is a driver who is going for redemption, and that is the one of Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain has finished second since the new repave at Atlanta. Both of those came in 2022, one in the spring and one in the summer. Last year in the spring race, he was running towards the front, ultimately dropped back and finished 13th. Not a terrible finish, but not great. Ross also has a super speedway win coming at Talladega, and he was very close to winning the 500 last week. This will be the ultimate redemption story for him if he can win this week after trying to win the 500 last week. Now, the next driver that I'm going to talk about is more of a hunch than it is anything else, and that is the number 19 of Martin Truex Jr. Now, I know what you might be thinking. 0 super speedway wins, and all he does is seem to get taken out in these types of races. Yes, he doesn't have a first place finish yet in the Cup Series at a super speedway track, and Atlanta, although a mile and a half is now considered that because it is a drafting track and the banking allows for it. Now, in 2022, he ran well in the summer race, and he ended up getting taken out by Ross Chastain in a crash. Now, there's a first time for everything, and I think there's a slight possibility that he can win. It's just something is telling me that if a Toyota is going to win, I could see Martin Truex Jr. winning at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And the funny thing will be is if this will then be considered his first super speedway win, because some people consider Atlanta that track and some people don't consider it that type of a track. But I like the 19 having the chance to win as well. Now, I can go on and on about why I can consider every driver to win at a wildcard track like Atlanta is possible, but like I said, the trend has shown that non-underdogs and more favorite drivers have won at this track in recent years since the repave. The final driver that I'm going to consider to win is somebody who won last week at Daytona, but in a dual race, and that is the 45 of Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick seems to run well at the new configured Atlanta, and also the 45 car when it was driven by Kurt Busch also seemed to run well at this track, finishing 3rd in 2022. I think Tyler Reddick has an opportunity to win. Moving into the betting portion of this video, I'm going to show you the opportunity to make some money. There are a few bets that I have highlighted that I'm going to show you right now. The first bet that I like, especially on a wildcard track like Atlanta, is on Caesars Sportsbook, and that is the highest finishing Ford, Toyota, and Chevy. Each of them are their own things. Now for this, I'm going to look at some value plays because although we're not picking them to win the race, I still think they have the opportunity if there's some crazy crashes or something happens on the last lap where there's momentum that comes on one of the lines and somebody else has an opportunity to get ahead of somebody. That's where this bet comes into play. Now with the Chevys, for the highest finishing Chevys, I have 3 guys. Ross Chastain or Daniel Suarez for Trackhouse, which I really like. They're more better odds than this last guy. The last guy I have for the highest finishing Chevy is Daniel Hemric. And I know what you might be saying, Daniel Hemric, why? No, it's not to win the race. It's to be the highest finishing Chevy. $5 on Hemric, I think, wins about $150. So I'd sprinkle a couple dollars on Hemric. You never know, crazier things have happened. Now moving into the Toyotas, I like Bubba Wallace or John Hunter Nemechek. Bubba Wallace runs well at super speedway tracks. He has a win at Talladega, and he also runs well at the new Atlanta. John Hunter Nemechek finished 9th last week and also has the opportunity to win in the Cup Series here. He won last year at Atlanta with the new repave, so I would look at both of those. And again, they're better than Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell when it comes to odds and the other JGR guys, but they're still competitive Toyotas that have the opportunity if stuff goes crazy. Now moving into the Fords, you might be thinking, okay, you have to pick the Penske guys or the RFK guys. No, I'm going with somebody crazy here, and I should have bet on him last week at Daytona, and he ended up being the highest Ford, and it was Noah Gragson. I really believe last week that Noah Gragson was going to have a good race, and he was the highest finishing Ford. Last week, a $5 bet for that to happen would have won $200. I'm going to do it again this week. I don't think it's the same amount of money, but I still like that bet because, again, crazy things can happen, and Noah Gragson is a very talented race car driver. Another Ford that I'm looking at is Justin Haley. He is almost at the bottom of this in a Rick Ware car, so not good odds because the equipment's not good. But crazy things can happen as long as Justin Haley can stay in the draft. I mean, hey, if he can get a top 15 and all the Fords wreck out, or there's, Chevys and Toyotas in front of him, definitely a value play. And then finally, Chase Briscoe. I like Stewart-Haas Racing to be one of the higher Fords if it's not Penske or RFK because, well, there's nobody else left. But definitely Chase Briscoe is a trustworthy Stewart-Haas Racing driver. So those are the bets I like for that specific category. Now I have two more bets, and this bet again is a wild card Hail Mary bet, and that's Daniel Hemric to get a top 5. Now, on top of being the highest finishing Chevy, I don't know, there's just something telling me that Daniel Hemric's going to have a good day. Getting a top 10, the odds aren't really good, but a top 5 gets really interesting. If Hemric gets a top 5, again, $10 can win you $100+. I mean, maybe I'm throwing it away, but something's telling me to bet on Daniel Hemric tomorrow. Now, I also have a DraftKings parlay. You don't have to put all the legs together, but if you do, it pays $832, and I'll put that up on the screen right now. Bowman over Bell, Byron over Hamlin, Blaney over Larson, Elliott over Wallace, Truex over Busch, Chastain over Reddick, and Gibbs over Suarez. You can only do a couple of them if you want to be a little safer, but I like to do some lottery tickets and try to win almost thousands of dollars, but it probably won't happen. But if it does, come back to this video, and I'm a genius. But if it doesn't, come back to this video, and then don't say anything. And as always, I thank you guys for watching, and let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next one.